Welcome to Book Blink. There was a boy who always sat alone in the school cafeteria. He wasn't shy, he wasn't unfriendly, he just didn't know how to start. Every time someone walked by, he wanted to say something. But what? His heart raced, his mind froze, and by the time he thought of something to say, they were already gone. Years passed, college, work, parties, meetings, and still he struggled. Then one day, tired of feeling invisible, he picked up a book, Better Small Talk by Patrick King. He didn't know it at the time, but that book would change everything. The truth is, we've all been that boy at some point, whether it's walking into a room full of strangers, standing awkwardly at a networking event, or riding in silence during a long elevator trip. We've all felt the tension of not knowing what to say. Patrick King's Better Small Talk isn't just a book about talking. It's about unlocking your ability to connect quickly, genuinely, and comfortably with anyone. Let's start with a simple truth King makes clear from the beginning. Small talk isn't about the topic, it's about trust. When someone says, "Nice weather today," they're not testing your meteorology skills. They're testing whether you're friendly, open, and safe to talk to. Small talk is like knocking on a door. It's not about the knock, it's about getting inside. And that's the key mistake most people make. They think they have to say something brilliant, clever, or deep right away. But in reality, you just need to make a connection. And the content can come later. So how do you do that? Patrick King introduces several psychological techniques to break through the noise and awkwardness. One of the first tools he gives us is this, the looping method. Here's how it works. When someone says something, anything, instead of jumping to a new topic or giving a short answer, you loop it back. Let's say someone says, "I just got back from New York." Most people might reply, "Oh, cool, I've been there too," and stop. But the looping method means you go deeper. You ask, "Nice, what brought you there?" Or, "What did you enjoy the most?" This turns the spotlight on them, and suddenly you're not making small talk. You're making real conversation. But there's more. King talks about the third thing rule, one of the most powerful tools in the book. This rule is simple. Don't focus on you and me. Focus on a third thing, a topic, an object, a shared environment. For example, instead of saying, "So, what do you do?" which feels like an interrogation, look around and say something about your shared context. At a party. "This playlist is all over the place. I swear I just heard Mozart after Drake." At a meeting. "I think this coffee machine hates me. It gave me foam last time and regret this time." It sounds silly, but it breaks the tension. It creates a shared laugh. And more importantly, it gives people permission to relax and join the moment. And that's what Better Small Talk teaches at every turn. How to be human first and let the rest follow. Because once you take the pressure off being perfect, you unlock the power of presence. Part 2. The day he tried again. The boy, now a young man, stood outside the door of a networking event. His palms were sweating. He had read Better Small Talk twice. He underlined things, highlighted pages, even practiced in front of the mirror. But this was real. He walked in. People were laughing in groups. Some huddled near the bar. Others typed on their phones to avoid awkwardness. He spotted someone standing alone. He remembered King's words, "When in doubt, approach the lone person." They're hoping someone will. So he took a deep breath, walked over, smiled, and said, "This lighting makes everyone look like they haven't slept in days." The person laughed. "Right? I thought it was just me." That was it. The door opened. The connection began. According to Patrick King, the secret to better conversations starts with intentional observation. We're surrounded by conversation starters. We just don't see them. The room, the sounds, the clothes, the drinks, the time of day. Every detail offers a potential third thing to comment on. But the problem isn't finding something to say. It's getting out of your own head. That's where King introduces a powerful shift. The spotlight effect. The spotlight effect is the belief that everyone's watching you, judging you, noticing your every word. But the truth? They're all thinking about themselves, just like you are. Most people are too busy worrying about how they're coming across to notice your nerves. And when you realize this, you free yourself from fear. Another tip King gives is this: preload your topics. You don't need a perfect script. But having 2 to 3 flexible conversation openers gives you confidence. Instead of the tired, "So what do you do?" Try, How do you spend most of your time these days? What's something exciting coming up for you this week? What brought you here today? These aren't just surface questions, they're open-ended, they invite emotion, they move the conversation forward. King emphasizes the best questions are the ones that make people feel seen. And if you ever get stuck, he gives a secret weapon, the FORD technique. It stands for Family, Occupation, Recreation, Dreams. These are the 4 safest, richest areas to explore in small talk. Almost any interaction can circle one of these, and they give you a map to keep the conversation flowing. Let's say you meet someone at a conference. You can ask, "Do you live around here?" That's family. "What line of work are you in?" That's occupation. "What do you do when you're not working?" That's recreation. "Is this something you've always wanted to do?" That's dreams. It's simple, it's natural, and it works. But King also warns about something we often ignore: the energy we bring into a conversation. If you enter a conversation closed off, self-conscious, and stiff, you're giving people a signal to mirror that same energy back. But if you bring warmth, curiosity, and ease, people lean in, they feel safe, they open up. That's the difference between awkward silence and connection. The young man at the networking event didn't become a master overnight. He stumbled, he forgot questions, he got nervous. But for the first time, he didn't walk away feeling invisible. He walked away feeling seen and knowing he had made someone else feel that way too. And that's the true art of small talk. Part 3. The elevator moment. It was a Tuesday morning. The elevator doors slid open and in walked his company's CEO. The young man froze. This was the moment. The kind of unscripted, high-pressure scenario where small talk isn't just helpful, it's critical. He remembered a line from the book: "Small talk is what happens when you're not expecting to talk at all." In those moments, you don't have time to rehearse. You just have to respond like a human. So instead of saying nothing or blurting out a cliche, he smiled and said, "I've been here 6 months and I still hit the wrong floor every week. You ever do that?" The CEO chuckled. "Every Monday, like clockwork." Boom. Connection made, just like that. Patrick King explains that spontaneous small talk is less about being clever and more about being comfortable with imperfection. The problem is we're trained to think we need to impress, but what people truly respond to is presence, not performance. That's why King introduces the idea of conversational hooks. Hooks are personal details you drop, not to dominate the conversation, but to give the other person something to grab onto. For example, "I had to run here because I missed my alarm. Again. I've been trying to cut down on caffeine, but this coffee is testing me. My kid thinks I'm famous because I was in the background of a YouTube video once." These aren't random facts, they're hooks. They invite the other person to ask more, to share something back, to relate, and that's where the magic happens. Because the goal of small talk, as King reminds us, isn't just to pass the time. It's to create micro moments of trust. Trust opens doors, it builds relationships, it gets you remembered. But what happens when it doesn't go smoothly? What if someone gives short answers, or worse, doesn't respond at all? That's where King introduces another powerful lesson. Don't take it personally. Sometimes people just aren't in the mood. They're distracted, they're shy, they've had a rough day. Your job isn't to force chemistry, it's to offer openness. And that openness is communicated more through tone and body language than through words. Smile, lean slightly forward. Keep your arms open, not crossed. Use a warm tone, like you're talking to a friend, even if they're a stranger. These nonverbal cues say, "I'm safe, I'm present, I'm here." And they matter more than the actual words, because as King writes, people remember how you made them feel far more than what you said. The young man exited the elevator that morning with a small smile. It wasn't a job interview, it wasn't a pitch, it was a 30-second moment, but he made it count. And that's what better small talk teaches over and over. It's not about talking more, it's about talking better. And often, just one small sentence can change everything. Part 4, the lunch table test. It was the company cafeteria this time. The young man had his tray in hand. He spotted a table where a few colleagues were chatting. His heart raced. Should he join them? Would it be weird? He remembered one of Patrick King's most powerful insights. Most people want to talk. They're just waiting for someone else to go first. So he walked over, smiled, and asked, "Mind if I join you guys?" They welcomed him in. He didn't try to be impressive. He didn't force a joke. He just asked, "Has anyone figured out the trick to not spilling soup on this tray? Or is it just me?" Laughter. The mood shifted. The table opened up. He was in. Patrick King explains this moment as the permission phase of conversation. It's that fragile, early stage where two people are feeling each other out. They're deciding, is this safe? Is this person real? Are they listening? And the best way to build that safety? Be curious, not clever. Ask questions. Listen without interrupting. Don't wait to speak. Wait to understand. King outlines a golden rule. People are most interested in those who are most interested in them. It's simple, but overlooked. We're so busy trying to sound smart, funny, or interesting, we forget to actually connect. But what does genuine curiosity look like? It's not interrogation, it's layered questions. Let's say someone says, "I just got back from Japan." Most people would respond with, "Oh, cool, I've always wanted to go." But a curious person goes deeper. What surprised you most while you were there? Did anything feel completely different from what you expected? These questions aren't generic. They show you're paying attention. That's how King defines conversational depth. You're not just exchanging facts, you're creating emotional resonance. He even offers a formula. Observation plus emotion equals connection. For example, instead of saying, "This coffee is strong," try, "This coffee is strong enough to restart my brain." Not sure if that's a good thing. You're not just stating a fact, you're adding a human layer, and that's what makes people relate. Back at the lunch table, the young man didn't dominate the conversation. He didn't show off. He just stayed engaged. He nodded. He laughed where it mattered. He followed up when someone shared something personal. And slowly, people opened up. That's the power of presence. That's what better small talk is really about. It's not tricks. It's not hacks. It's being human on purpose. Part 5. When the room goes silent. There was a networking event downtown. Low lighting, soft music, glasses clinking, small talk everywhere. The young man stood near a table holding a drink, watching others slide in and out of conversations like they were dancing, smooth, confident. He took a breath and stepped toward a small group. They welcomed him with a nod, but just a few minutes in, the conversation died. Silence. That dreaded, awkward pause. He froze, but then a line from Patrick King echoed in his head. The silence isn't your enemy, it's your opportunity to restart. Most people fear silence. They treat it like a failure, a sign that the conversation is broken. But King argues that silence is simply a transition point. It's a natural pause, not a judgment. And if you learn how to handle it, it becomes your secret weapon. So how do you restart? With a pivot. Pivots are like small, respectful shifts in topic. They don't ignore the silence, they gently move past it. Some of King's go-to pivot lines include, "Anyway, completely random, but have you ever..." This might sound weird, but I've always wondered. "You seem like someone who has good taste. Mind if I ask you something off topic?" These lines do one crucial thing. They reset the room. They break the ice again without making anyone feel awkward. King calls this the art of graceful redirection. Because sometimes conversations stall because the topic is flat. Not because you did something wrong, and instead of clinging to that dead topic, the better move is to gently change lanes. But how do you find something new to talk about? King suggests one trick. Contextual cues. Look around. What's happening right now? Is there a piece of art on the wall? A unique drink being served? An interesting outfit someone's wearing? Context is always whispering conversation starters. We just forget to listen. He writes, "The world around you is filled with prompts. Use them." So that night, when the group went quiet, the young man smiled and asked, "Okay, random question. If you could teleport to any country right now just for dessert, where would you go?" The group lit up. Italy for tiramisu. Thailand, mango sticky rice. I'd go to New York. I still dream about that one cheesecake. Laughter, curiosity, new energy. The silence was gone. The room had restarted. Small talk isn't about perfection. It's about presence, flexibility, and grace under awkward pressure. Because the people who can stay calm when the room goes quiet, they're the ones everyone wants to keep talking to. Part 6. The myth of being interesting. He used to think he had to be impressive to be liked. Say something smart, drop a fact, make them laugh. But it rarely worked. One day, while scrolling through a blog, he came across this line from Patrick King. Being interesting is less important than making others feel interesting. That changed everything. The truth, most people don't need you to entertain them. They need to feel seen. King calls this the spotlight effect, not the one from psychology, but the one we give to others when we let them shine in conversation. And the best way to give someone that spotlight? Ask better questions, not just what do you do or where are you from? Those are entry points, not connectors. King explains a concept called the third level question. It works like this. Level 1, where are you from? Level 2, what do you like about living there? Level 3, how has that place shaped the way you see people or work? Each level goes deeper, more emotional, more revealing. You move from facts to feelings. And that's where trust lives. That's where small talk becomes real talk. But what if the person doesn't open up? What if they seem distracted? King shares a powerful reminder. Not everyone will match your energy. That's not a failure, that's a filter. You're not supposed to click with everyone. Your job is to stay curious, calm, and kind. If the vibe's not there, pivot or move on. Don't chase approval. Chase connection. One afternoon, the young man sat next to a woman on a park bench. She seemed lost in thought. Instead of jumping in with something clever, he simply asked, "You look deep in thought. Hope everything's okay?" She turned and smiled. "Yeah, just a weird day. Thanks for asking." That one gentle question opened a 30-minute conversation about books, family, old memories. He didn't try to impress her. He just invited her in. This is what better small talk teaches at its core. You don't have to be charismatic. You don't have to be funny. You just have to be genuinely present. The rest flows naturally. Part 7. Anchoring the moment. It was a rooftop party, city lights glowing in the distance, music thumping faintly in the background, people laughing, mingling, bouncing from group to group. The young man stood with a woman he'd just met. They'd been talking about weekend plans, but something shifted when she mentioned her father's love for old jazz records. He smiled and asked, "Do you think that's where your music taste comes from?" She blinked, surprised. "No one's ever asked me that, but yeah, it's totally my dad." The moment deepened. That's what Patrick King calls anchoring. Anchoring is the art of taking something someone says and planting it deeper. You take a casual comment and turn it into a shared emotional memory. Most people stay at the surface of a conversation. They respond with a nod or a "that's cool." But if you want to be memorable, you go one level further. King explains, a great conversation is not made from topics, it's made from emotional callbacks. And that's what anchors are, emotional callbacks. They remind the other person, "Hey, I heard you. I remember what matters to you." Here's how anchoring works in practice. Let's say someone tells you they're obsessed with hiking. You could anchor that later by saying, "I saw this trail on Instagram yesterday and thought of you. Looked like your kind of vibe. You're the one always chasing sunrises on mountaintops, right?" That small anchor tells them, "You matter, your word stuck with me." It builds warmth, and it makes people want to stay in your orbit. At that rooftop party, as the music shifted to a mellow jazz track, the young man smiled and said, "Hey, sounds like something your dad might have played, doesn't it?" Her eyes lit up. That's an anchor. That's how you turn a stranger into a connection. King makes it clear. Better small talk isn't about saying the perfect thing. It's about saying the right small thing at the right human moment. That's how we go from forgettable to unforgettable. Part 8. Exit like a pro. It was late. The restaurant buzz was fading, chairs scraping, waiters wiping tables. The young man had been in a deep conversation with a new acquaintance for almost an hour. He had to go, early morning ahead, but didn't want to leave things awkward. That's when Patrick King's advice came to mind. The end of a conversation is just as important as the start. Make it clean. Make it warm. Most people fumble goodbyes. They either vanish mid-chat or drag it on until it dies quietly. But King says, leave like a pro, because that's often the final impression you give, and good impressions are built on intentional exits. Here are some exit lines King recommends that don't feel cold or abrupt. "I've really enjoyed talking with you, but I need to step out. Let's pick this up next time." I'm heading out, but you've made my night. Thanks for this conversation. I don't want to keep you too long, but I'm so glad we got to talk. They do one thing well, acknowledge the connection and set a respectful boundary. And if you're in a group, there's a gentle group exit too. You all are great. I've got to bounce, but thanks for the laughs. That's how you end without burning. That's how you depart without disappearing. But it's not just about words, it's the energy. Don't leave like you're escaping. Leave like someone who values the moment and knows when to gracefully close it. Because as King puts it, people don't remember every word. They remember how you made them feel. So that night, the young man stood, smiled, and said, "You've made this evening better, but I've got an early morning." "I'm glad we met," the other person smiled back. No awkwardness, no weird energy, just a clean, human moment. Small talk doesn't end when you stop speaking. It ends when you leave someone feeling better than when you found them. And that, King reminds us, is real charisma. Part 9. Navigating Silence, Awkward Moments, and One-Sided Conversations. It was a coffee shop this time. The young man sat across from a new colleague. The conversation started strong. Travel, weekend plans, a few laughs. But then, silence. Not the peaceful kind. The awkward, what do I say now kind. He stared at his cup, trying to think of something smart. His brain froze. He panicked. But then he remembered something from Patrick King. Silence is not the enemy, it's a reset. King explains that silences are natural. They don't mean you're boring. They don't mean you failed. They just mean the moment needs a breather, and you can turn that pause into a pivot. Here's how. Acknowledge the pause lightly. My brain just hit a pause. Ever feel that after a long day? Use an observational jump. This place always smells like cinnamon. Makes me think of winter holidays. Or simply shift the topic. Hey, random, but what's your favorite kind of weekend? The trick is to stay calm. Confidence isn't in never pausing. It's in handling the pause gracefully. But what about when the other person gives you nothing? Short answers, dead eyes, looking at their phone. You try, they don't try back. King is clear here. You're not responsible for someone else's energy. Your job is to invite, not to beg. In these moments, use the 2-question rule. Try 2 open-ended questions. If they still resist, gracefully exit. Say something like, "It's been nice chatting. Hope your day gets better. I'll let you get back to it. Maybe next time we'll both be more caffeinated." It's graceful, it's strong, and it protects your own social energy. Now for the tricky one, disagreements. You say something, they disagree. The vibe shifts. Here's what most people do: defend, debate, or withdraw. But King suggests a different path. Curious disagreement. You say, "That's interesting. I've always seen it differently. What made you feel that way?" "Huh, never thought of it like that. Tell me more. Where did that belief come from?" This keeps the door open. It builds bridges, not walls. Because the goal isn't to win, it's to connect, even through difference. By now, the young man had learned this. Better small talk is not about having perfect lines, it's about having better intentions, and the courage to stay present when things get messy. Silence, he could ride it. Disengagement, he could exit kindly. Disagreement, he could stay curious. He didn't fear awkwardness anymore. He understood it was just another doorway, and he knew how to walk through. Part 10. Situational Mastery and Long-Term Growth. A week later, the young man was at a company networking event. He'd come a long way since the rooftop party, since the awkward silences at coffee shops. This time, he wasn't just participating in small talk, he was mastering it. How? By applying the last key principle from Patrick King's book, Situational Mastery. Situational mastery is understanding the context of a conversation and knowing how to adjust your approach. For example, at a networking event, small talk isn't about deep connections right away. It's about building rapport in a short time. King suggests, start with a simple observation. "This place has a great vibe, don't you think?" Follow with a universal question. "What's brought you here today?" Close with a gracious exit or ask for a follow-up. "It was great talking with you. I'd love to connect again. Let's grab a coffee soon." In a social setting like this, context drives your choice of conversation. But not every conversation is easy. Not every person is eager to chat. So what happens when you face a difficult crowd? How do you handle people who shut you down, or worse, ignore you? King's advice is both simple and profound. True confidence in small talk comes from realizing it's not about you. It's about them. That's right, confidence is about focusing outward, not inward. When you engage with someone, shift your attention away from worrying about what they think of you and think about what they need from you. Are they looking for validation? Are they craving a little attention? Do they just want someone to listen? King says that one of the most underrated conversational skills is active listening. When you listen actively, you don't just hear words, you hear feelings. You hear context, you understand motives. This opens doors. This creates genuine moments. And over time, you'll find that you've stopped trying to be good at small talk. Instead, you'll just be good at people. The final piece of the puzzle? Long-term growth. If you want to improve your small talk skills, Patrick King suggests starting small. Commit to one new conversation a day, even if it's with a stranger on the street, a cashier at the grocery store, or someone at work. Small talk is like a muscle. The more you practice it, the stronger it becomes. And here's the secret King shares. Don't focus on perfection. Focus on progress. Each conversation is a step forward. You may stutter. You may forget what you meant to say. But with each try, you get better. And before you know it, you'll be that person who walks into a room and effortlessly connects with people. The young man from earlier, he didn't just master small talk. He mastered people. He made real connections. He felt more confident. He stopped trying to be interesting and started making others feel interesting. And that, Patrick King says, is the heart of better small talk. This concludes our summary of Better Small Talk by Patrick King. If you've been following along, you now have all the tools you need to confidently navigate any conversation, make people feel valued, and most importantly, leave a lasting impact. Thank you for listening, and remember, practice makes perfect. So get out there and start applying these techniques today. Goodbye.